Alright guys, so today we're going to do an EdPuzzle over transformations. We've been learning transformations for about 2.5 weeks now, so it's just a review. We're going to go through all 4 transformations. So anything I write down on the notes paper, you're going to need to write down on your paper as well. So we're going to go ahead and get started with number 1. It says triangle JKL is dilated with the origin as the center of dilation to create triangle J prime, K prime, L prime. Which rule best represents the dilation that has been applied to triangle JKL to create triangle J prime, K prime, L prime? So one of the key words in this problem is dilated, and that helps because I remember our dilation rule is always X, Y, with our arrow, and we take our scale factor, which is represented by K, and we times it to our X coordinate, and we take that same scale factor and we times it to our Y coordinate. So our dilation rule should have a number touching a letter and a number touching a letter. So when I look at these answer choices, I can automatically get rid of A because it has a plus and a minus, and I can automatically get rid of B because it has plus signs in it. So I've already narrowed it down to 2 answer choices. So K is our scale factor. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to pick one of these coordinates and I'm going to need to find our scale factor. Now, when I look at J is at -2, 4, but J prime is kind of in the middle. So I don't want to use J because I would be taking a guess at the location for J prime. So I'm going to go to K. K is at 6, 4, but K prime is also in the middle between 10 and 11. So I don't want to use K prime because that would be a guess as well. So L is at 8, 4, 8, -4, sorry. And L prime is at 14, -6. So those are all whole numbers or integers, so I would rather use those. So L was at 8, -4, and it turned into L prime, which was 14, -6. Now, to find our scale factor, we're going to use our ratio of new over old. So remember that our apostrophe is called the prime, and that represents our new coordinate. So now I need to decide if I want to use X's or Y's. And when I look at these coordinates, the X's are positive, so I'm going to go ahead and use those because I like working with positive numbers. So K equals new over old. Here's my prime, so 14 is my new, over 8, which is my old, okay? So what I'm going to do, because I don't see 14/8 as an answer choice, I'm going to get my calculator and I'm going to simplify that to see if it comes up with something. So when I simplify it in the calculator, I get 7/4. So 1/2, not 7/4. My answer would be D on here. Okay. Now, I've done that and I found my scale factor. 7/4, is this an enlargement or a reduction? Go ahead and answer that question. Make sure you have all of this copied down and then move on to number 2. Okay, number 2. Triangle HJK is graphed on the coordinate grid. Triangle HJK will be transformed using the rule X, Y turns into -XY to create triangle H prime, J prime, K prime. Which graph represents triangle H prime, J prime, K prime? So what I need to do for this one is I need to go ahead and write my coordinates down for H, J, and K right now. So H, J, and K. So when I come over here and look, H is at 2, 3. J is at 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And K is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Now I'm going to do what the rule says. So the rule says negative x, y. So I want to do the inverse of my x's. So 2, 4, and 6. To get my new coordinates, I need to do an inverse. So h prime, the inverse of positive 2 would be negative 2. Y stays the same. For j prime, the inverse of a positive 4 is a negative 4. And for k prime, the inverse of a positive 6 is a negative 6, and the 1 would stay the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my new coordinates and I'm going to graph them so I can see which answer choice would match up with that. So negative 2, 3, negative 2, 1, 2, 3. Negative 4, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. And negative 6, 1. H prime, J prime, K prime. So I'm looking for the answer choice that puts H up here, or that puts my prime, my new figure, in the top left quadrant, quadrant number 3. So A and my answer would match up there. Make sure you have all of this down. Can you tell me which type of transformation did we use here on this problem with the rule xy turns into negative xy? Once you have all of this copied down, go ahead and flip to question number 3. All right, number 3. Triangle ABC was transformed to create triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. Which rule best describes this transformation? Okay, so the possible transformations I can have are dilation, reflection, translation, rotation. All right. So a dilation is when it enlarges or reduces. That did not happen. A reflection is when we flip the shape across the x or the y axis. If I flipped this shape, it would be facing the other direction, so not a reflection. A translation is a slide. So did I take my shape and actually slide it down? That's what it's looking like. So here is my original A coordinate. It is at 2, 6. Here is my A prime coordinate. It is at 2, negative 1. So what I can see that happened was that I took my shape and I slid it down. So if I drew my shape on my patty paper and I made sure I had my origin, I can see that to get to my A prime, I actually went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces down. So I did have a translation and I did 7 spaces down. Okay. So for this transformation, we started at x, y, and we went 7 down. So think about that coordinate plane. My x-axis is horizontal. My y-axis is vertical. When we go to the right, it is positive. When we go up, it is positive. Left is negative, and down is negative. So the only movement we made on our transformation was going 7 down. Now, if I look at my coordinates, I had 2 and it stayed 2. So I'm going to represent that by keeping my x the same, but I went 7 down. So on my coordinate plane, when I go down, that is the y, and it is a minus. And we went 7 spaces down, so y minus 7. So when I look at these answer choices, the x stays the same, y minus 7. I don't have a minus 7 in G, so I can cross that out. I don't have a minus 7 in J, so I can cross that one out. X stayed the same, y is what has the minus 7. So we should have picked answer choice F on number 3. Make sure you have all of this copied down on your notes, and then go ahead and flip to number 4. Pentagon VWXYZ is shown on the coordinate grid. A student rotated pentagon VWXYZ 90 degrees clockwise. Which rule describes this transformation? So I'm going 90 degrees clockwise. So in case we forgot, here's my clock. 12, 3, 6, 9. Clockwise means the direction we read the clock. So I'm going to turn it 1 time to the right. So right now I'm going to write down 2 coordinates because I want to go ahead and compare. So V and W. V is located at 4, -1. And the coordinate for W is 7, -4. So now that I've written down the coordinates, I'm going to take my patty paper and I'm going to trace my shape. V, W, X, Y, Z. Don't forget to label. And we do want to include some of our origin, so that we can make that rotation. So a 90 degrees clockwise is going to turn into 1 turn to the right. So when I line it up and I put my pencil on the origin, I'm going to turn it 1 time to where it matches. So when I do that, V prime turns into -1, -4, and W prime turns into -4, -7. So I need to compare my coordinates. So what do we notice happened to our coordinates here? Well, when I look, 4 came first, now it comes second. 1 came first, now it came second, now it comes first. So they switched order. 4 became a negative, -1 stayed the same. 7 became a negative, 4 stayed the same. So 4 became negative, 7 became negative. Those were originally my x coordinates. So my x coordinates are inverse. So now that we've said in words what happened, we need to figure out the rule that translates those words. So we always start our rule x, y with an arrow. So we first said they switch order. So y comes first and then x. Just knowing they switched order, we can eliminate A because x and y are still in the same order. And we can eliminate D because they did not switch. So we did switched order. And now we have to do the x coordinates are inverse. So my x was a positive. The inverse of a positive is a negative. So when I look at this, B is my answer. A 90 degrees clockwise turn has the same rule as how many degrees counterclockwise? Go ahead and answer that question. Make sure you have all of this written down. Go ahead and turn your paper into your teacher and then follow the directions on the board.